What's going on, South Gardens family? What's going on? When you come in, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know you're on. I'm gonna get started at 7:30. I decided to, start letting the live start 5 minutes early. That way, once the actual time that it was supposed to come, then we could just get started. Hey, if you come in, just drop a comment in the chat. Hashtag Black to the Land. Hashtag whatever you want to hashtag in there. Yeah, we're gonna get started at 7:30. We're gonna be talking about stewardship. Stewardship, which is very, very, very important. Not only just in farming and homesteading, but in life in general. You know what I'm saying? Stewardship. It's a biblical principle. And I got some topics especially that I want to hit on. Once you come in, man, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know you're on. I'm gonna just wait for everybody to get on. Look like I got one person on. Drop a hashtag in the chat. Let me know you're on. Once you're on, let me know you're on. Please and thank you. Hashtag Black to the Land. Mark 8863. What's going on, man? What's going on? Soul to Soul Homestead. What's going on? How you doing? Good to see y'all on. Appreciate y'all for being on the live. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. For real. We're gonna be talking about stewardship today. Stewardship. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. Stewarding over everything God has given us. Don't mind the background noise. That's my kids. They got a little cold. You know, my son, he stayed bringing home something from school, man. You know, but stewardship, that's a word. That's a word that God put in my spirit. Like a week ago. And I just want to share that. We're gonna get started in 2 minutes. 2 minute warning. Yep. Appreciate everybody for joining in. If you're just coming on, man, hashtag Back to the Land in the chat or leave a comment in the chat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to see you on, man. Appreciate y'all. Hope everybody having a good Friday evening, going into the weekend. Hope everybody having a good Friday evening, ready for the weekend. Because I know I am. Because I have been tired, but, got to keep pushing. Hashtag Black to the Land. Soil to Soul Homestead. Appreciate that. Yes, sir. Yep, we just waiting on 7:30 to get started. But stewardship, that's the word, man. And I want everybody, who watching this, I want them to just ponder on that word, if you will. Just meditate on that. In the Bible, it says Selah. That means pause and calmly think of that. So meditate on that word, stewardship, because stewardship will get you so far in life. It'll get you so far in life, spiritually and in the physical realm. Stewardship. It's very important. Yeah, so we're going to give it a couple more seconds and I'm going to get started. Yep, look like we got more people on, man. If you're just coming on, man, hashtag Black to the Land in the chat or leave a comment in the chat, man. Get the chat going. Get the chat going, man. I love y'all's input, when I am talking about different topics. I love y'all's input in the chat, man. It really helps. It helps the live out. So I appreciate it. We're just getting started and have so much to learn. Exactly. All right, so we about to get started, man. Stewardship. Because I posted a video earlier this week in regards to just getting out here and beautifying the land, the area, because you know God had put it in my spirit, like yeah, farming is hard work. It's a lot of work, especially when you're working a full-time job. But don't forget to steward the land. Don't forget to take care of the land. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, I made it a point to go ahead and give it some TLC, cut the grass and do the weed eating, and I'm gonna do some landscaping and just make it look pretty and make it look beautiful, make it look presentable. Because when God gives us something, He wants us to do it for His glory. You know what I'm saying? So um, that's why you have to steward over the things that He's giving you. And the first point that I have that I want to make is looking at stewardship from, a biblical standpoint. Like we see the parable of the dang, what's the name of that parable? I forget the exact name of the parable, but basically the parable is when the rich man, when he gives the talents. That's what it is. So he has three servants, right? And he gives each one of them a certain amount of talents to go and multiply it, right? And so, hey, G Mama Grows, glad you're on. And so, he gives one man, I believe it's like, um, I don't know the exact number of talents, but he gave him the most amount of talents. Then he gave the second man, he gave him a good amount of talents, not as much as the first. And then the last man, he gave him, I believe it was like one talent or something like that. Um, but anyways, the person who he gave the most talents to brought him back the most talents. He doubled the investment. The second guy, he also brought back a good amount of talents. But the third guy went and hid his in the field because he was scared to invest. He was scared to uh, risk. He was scared to, properly steward over the talents that the master had given him. And as a result, the master, um, condemned him. And so that's the same thing in life, right? God gives us all different talents. He may give one person, $1 million. He may give another person $100,000. He may give somebody else, a job that paid them 50,000 a year to steward over. It don't matter how much he give you; it's about how you steward over it, right? So if he's just giving you, let's just say he's just giving you, whatever amount of money that you're bringing in, if you're not stewarding over that well, how could you expect God to trust you with more? You see what I'm saying? How if you're not stewarding over already what He's giving you, how could you expect Him to trust you with more? So that parable of the talents, it really shows, what good stewardship is. What good stewardship is: taking care of or supervising, something that that you have been entrusted with. You know what I'm saying? Hey, appreciate y'all, man, for hopping in that comment section. Appreciate y'all, G Mama Grows, Mark 863. Appreciate y'all. And Soul to Soul Homestead. But that biblical example of stewardship of the talents, that applies to our everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times we get so caught up into looking to the left and to the right, like, oh man, this person, he make a lot of money, or she make this, or they got this, they live that, this, whatever, but they're stewarding over what they have. You know what I'm saying? While you're trying to figure out, well, why can't I get ahead? Well, why can't I get this? Oh, I want this, I want that. You got this vision, you got this dream, you got these dreams, you got everything in your mind set up how you want it to be or how you feel like it should be, and you're not stewarding over what you have right now. Well, so we have to we stewardship. We have to learn how to say, you know what? Okay, although I made, how many ever dollars, or I only have this, I only have that. I might only have, a 3-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom apartment, whatever the case may be. I can still make this the best that I can make it. I can take care of it the way that God, the way that Yah would want me to take care of it. You see what I'm saying? And he will see that and he will bless you with more because he can trust you with what you already have. And so the topic of stewardship and specifically in Black America, you know what I'm saying? Like even in Black America, like I honestly feel like as Black Americans, we haven't stewarded over um our culture, our history, um, our lineage. I feel like we haven't stewarded over it well. We haven't stewarded over it well. Because there's a lot, man. If you do a lot of research and dig and digging and you start to see, all of the things that Black people started, but they don't recognize, or we don't even recognize it. They don't recognize it, so we don't recognize it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's things that I didn't even know that I'm just now learning. Like Black folks started country music. Black folks started most of these genres of music. Black folks started the inventions Black folks have invented. And granted, I understand the patents and all that stuff, and a lot of the inventions were taken and patented by white people and things like that. But at the same time, when we learn about these things, are we stewarding over it well? When we learn the truth about our history, are we stewarding over it well? Because here's the thing, right? It's like Black folks, we innovate so much and we create so many things that we freely let people in to infiltrate it and to take it as their own. Case in point, we can see pop, we can look at pop music, we can look at blues, we can look at country, we can look at rock and roll. You see what I'm saying? And granted, yeah, back in those days when a lot of those things were first started and engineered and pioneered, Black people didn't have much of a say so. But at the same time, we still knew the truth. So we should have still held on, to those inventions, those innovations, those different things that we pioneered. We should still hang on to those things today. You see what I'm saying? Uh we should still gatekeep those things, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And you see it nowadays with hip hop. You see, hip hop was obviously started by Black people, but now you see we've been just so open, just so open and just so welcoming, and we let anybody come in. We let white people come in, Asians, Hispanics, all those. We let all these people come in who don't even necessarily like us, but they like what we produce, and they come in and they take it and they make it their own, and they become the faces of it. They become the faces of it. You see what I'm saying? And we just let them have it, and we just go pioneer something else, and we just go, you know what I'm saying? Come up with something else. We have to stop doing that. We have to start stewarding over the things, over the gifts that we have. We just let people come in, and we just let people, just just because we feel like, it's cool if this person does it from another ethnicity. No, we have to learn how to just start having some things that are sacred to us. I was just talking to somebody about that today. I was just talking about how the very things that we thought were sacred aren't even sacred anymore. It's being hijacked. You see what I'm saying? Our cuisine. You know what I'm saying? We see you'll never walk into a Chinese restaurant where Chinese people aren't cooking the food. You never go to a Japanese hibachi place where Japanese people aren't cooking the food. You'll never go to a Mexican restaurant where Mexicans aren't back there making the food or owning that business. But I guarantee you, you can go to barbecue spots, rib spots, soul food spots that are owned by other ethnicities of people other than Black that sell these things. You see what I'm saying? Because we've been so welcoming to people and say, "Oh, come on, we embrace you and we'll immerse you in our culture." And that has turned around to bite us because even the music, even the music that we produce, that we create, we don't even own it. It's owned by people of other communities that don't look like us, these record labels. And they tell these people what they can and can't put out. What about that is stewardship? We don't even control our art. We don't even store it over our art. We just put it out and we just create the trends, but everybody else make all the money off the trends. We create the cool. We create this. We create the culture. We do this. We do that. But we don't even store it well, so other people profit off of it instead of us. See, God put so much in us, and we feel like, well, shoot. I mean, well, they done took this over. We can go do something else. Instead of saying, no, we created this. We're gonna make that be known. We're gonna preserve that. We're gonna preserve the authenticity of it and not let it get watered down. But you have so many people who, instead of stewarding, they'll exchange it for, whatever. They'll exchange it for whatever. They'll sell their soul for it. You know what I'm saying? So we don't even have things that are sacred anymore. The one, and this is funny, but not really. But the one thing that we did have sacred, and I hate to say this, but this is the truth. One thing that we did have sacred, that black people, that, the one word, and y'all know what I'm talking about. The one word that was sacred, that we safeguarded. That anybody say this, what I'm saying, because of the history of the word. You know what word I'm talking about? The N word. Now anybody can say it because, oh, it's in the music. It's popular. It's cool. It's this. It's that. It's this. And you got a lot of people who, they'll see people from other ethnicities say this word, and they won't even care because their mindset, they don't even care. They don't even safeguard the historical context of that word. A word that was a derogatory term that we took and made a term of endearment. We made it a term of endearment. And now, because we've been so welcoming and loose and liberal, and all these other different things, people feel like they can say it. People feel like it's cool to say it, it's acceptable. You see what I'm saying? And we don't even check it. You know what I'm saying? We don't steward. We don't steward right. It has been a conscious decision every day to make our people better, but for some reason, we can't seem to do it. Exactly. And there's a lot of factors in that. There's a lot of factors. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, we do have to look at ourselves and take accountability first and foremost. We have to take accountability first and foremost and say, you know what? We dropped the ball on this, we dropped the ball on that. Yeah, we can point to all of the different things that were done through external sources and establishments and organizations. We can look at all that. I understand. But at the end of the day, there's no honor in being a victim. Knowing the truth will set you free, but there's no honor in being a victim. We got to say, you know what? We have to do better. See, we got to stop having this mindset of, because of this, we can't do that. And we got to start adopting the mindset of, well, because of this, I'm going to do this in spite of. You see what I'm saying? Just like I was saying last week, our ancestors had a fraction of what we had, but they created something greater than we've ever created with all this money and all this wealth that we have amassed. We value all the wrong things nowadays. Exactly. Exactly. We live in false realities. We live in false realities. Like, when I hear other folks singing those lyrics, it ticks me off. Me too. But what can we honestly say, because we haven't stewarded over it well? We haven't stewarded over it well. Well, not speaking to everybody, but speaking to, the people who, who make the culture what the culture is, who put out the trends, who put out the, you know what I'm saying? Those people don't, steward over it well. And we don't hold them accountable when they don't steward over it well. Because here's the thing. We feel like, oh, well, that's them rich folks doing this. That's them folks with money doing it. But guess what? The power is in the people. They wouldn't be rich if it wasn't for the people. The people have the power. The people truly don't realize that the power is in the people. If the people stop, the power is no more. That's just the truth. But the thing is, the people at the top, they understand that if they keep the masses mindless, through through means of propaganda, through means of distractions, through means of whatever the case may be. They keep them mindless, then they can keep fueling the system and the powers that be. That's enough about that though, because I don't want to get too deep into that type of stuff. But we as black folks, we haven't stewarded over our culture well. We haven't stewarded over our culture well. That's why we haven't been able to create another Black Wall Street. That's why we haven't been able to. I believe there in America there is maybe like I want to say something around like a couple thousand billionaires. It's either a couple hundred or a couple thousand. I don't know the exact number. But of those billionaires, I believe only like 7 of them are black. So you talk about maybe 1% of billionaires in this country are black. You see what I'm saying? We could have a lot more. We could have a lot more, but our mentality, we don't steward it well. How do you feel about Dr. Umar and Killer Mike? Hey man, I love those brothers. I love any black person that is speaking truth, speaking out against things that are going on, speaking out against black people who are doing wrong, speaking out against the system and the powers that be that's doing wrong. I appreciate all of those brothers, Dr. Umar and Killer Mike. Of course, you ain't nobody gonna agree with nobody 100%. But for the most part, I agree with their mentality. Especially, I like Killer Mike's mentality. Killer Mike is sitting here saying we need to empower ourselves. We need to do this. We need to do that. Just like there's a brother named King Randall. If you guys don't know who King Randall is, he's a young brother in his 20s who's building a school in Georgia, in Albany, Georgia, a preparatory school for boys, for black boys. And basically his mentality is self-sufficiency. We have to take our own power back. That's one thing I love about Killer Mike, because Killer Mike is encouraging people to, hey, do your own research, take your power back, become self-sufficient, learn how to fish, learn how to hunt, learn how to grow your own food. I'm all for that. That's what this channel is about. And Dr. Umar, he's just so intellectually sharp. That's what I love about Dr. Umar. And also Dr. Umar is creating, or at least he portrays. Now I'm not sure, there's been a lot of controversy, but at least he portrays that he's trying to open up a school and things like that to teach, these black boys how to, do a lot of these things. But yeah, and this is the thing. We would have a lot more as a whole. See, I'm gonna tell you something. We often look at the selected minorities, meaning, the ones who are selected, to be put in high positions. This is nothing new. This happened in the slave days. You had the house Negroes, you had the field Negroes, you had different positions, different hierarchies to divide. You see what I'm saying? Just like nowadays, you got, the ones who selected, who's in higher positions, who have amassed a lot of wealth and who has favor in the eyes of the king or the system or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of times people want to point at these people and say, how can black folks complain about anything when they got this person or they got that person, this person? What they don't tell you is those people are less than 1%. They probably are 0.1% of the black population. The black population as a whole is doing bad. And this is what I don't understand about a lot of people. And I know we're supposed to be talking about stewardship. I'm sorry. But, when he brought up Umar and Killer Mike, But anyways, we look at selected individuals and we try to paint the narrative of that's the whole, when in reality the whole of us is doing bad. And what kills me is the people at the top will know their people, the whole of black people are doing bad, but yet they don't try to do anything to resolve that, not realizing that you may think that you're in it by yourself, but trust me, that's not the case. Anytime somebody see me, you, whoever, if they see you doing something good or bad in public, they're going to look at you and they're going to classify the whole black race based off of their experience with you. If you do something good, they say, man, black people ain't that bad after all. just off of one person, one encounter. But if you do something bad, see, all those black people are this. Same thing. We look at a white person and say, man, white folks don't season their food. We look at a Mexican person and the stereotype or whatever the case may be. So what I'm saying is when when you look at one, you're really looking at all. You're classifying, you're grouping together all. That's how we as humans are wired. We stick to our clans. Just like somebody can look at one member from my family and they can say, oh man, those Wilsons, they're this, they just based off of one person, even though the whole family ain't like that. But you're representing your family, just like we're representing our race. That's why if they see one black brother do this or one black sister do that or one, then all of a sudden they all. So the people who are at the top and who are in these high positions, they don't realize they're looking at you the same way. They just looking at you as one of the good ones. So I digress on that point. But anyways, let's get back to stewardship. If we steward it right, this goes for our culture, our community, individually. If we steward it right, what we had, we would have way more. We would have an abundance. We would have what we feel like we deserve. We feel like we deserve all this because our ancestors did this and that. And yeah, that's true. But guess what? Did we steward it well? Your grandma left you a house, or your mama left you a house. A lot of our, parents or grandparents, they actually, were given things, when their parents died, businesses, houses, property, whatever the case may be. Like even we can look in South Carolina, where the Gullah Geechee people are, and the Gullah Geechee people, they own all of those islands, all of those sea islands. They own all of the coastal lands. But what happened when they start having children and they start dying? The children start selling it off. That's why you get the term like heirs property, to where I think that's the correct term. But that's where, let's say, okay, your ancestor left you something, right? And it's a couple of y'all, like let's say your parents left you some land, left you and your siblings some land, and it's 5 siblings, right? If one sibling say, okay, I agree to sell, that's all it takes is for developers or whoever to come in and start buying the property and buying it for cheap. So if one person agree to sell, they can sell their portion, right? Then when they sell their portion, what's going to happen? Then they have other ways to where they can basically force other people to sell their portions for next to nothing. You see what I'm saying? And so that brings me back to stewardship. They didn't steward because, see, they thought in their mind, okay, well, I'm gonna move away from here. I'm gonna get out the South. I'm tired of this farm life, or I'm tired of this country life, or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna go to New York. I'm gonna go to LA. I'm gonna go to Atlanta. I'm gonna go to all these different places. I'm tired of living here. So guess what? They'll give anything up to go chase an illusion. And when they realize it was an illusion, they don't have anything to come back to because they didn't steward over what they were given. Times are changing. We're starting to wake up to what's going on. We are starting to wake up. The dry bones, we are starting to wake up. We are. That's why, I do have hope. It's a lot of foolery and a lot of nonsense, but for the most part, I see people waking up. And we got to continue to wake people up. But like I was just saying, we would have a lot more if we stewarded what we had. We would have a lot more. Black folks built the American South. No doubt about it. Nobody can refute that. Nobody can refute that. The American South, the historic South, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, all these different places were built by Black people. West Virginia, built by Black people. All of these places. Yet, Black people, for good reason, in masses, left the South, left what their ancestors had built, right? Now you got a lot of them coming back to the South, right? And even in recent times, like I was just talking about, the Gullah Geechee people, a lot of them, they left, and they sold off the lands. Now they made world-class resorts. You're talking about parcels of property they bought for next to nothing. Now they're multi-million-dollar properties on there because we didn't steward over it right. We lived out there for centuries, or the Geechee people lived out there for centuries. A lot of people don't know. A lot of Gullah Geechee people got to hold on to a lot of their African cultures because they weren't on traditional plantations like the rest of us. Because white people couldn't stay on those coastal islands because of malaria. Black folks could withstand that, but a lot of white folks couldn't. So a lot of those, black folks out there, they were owning lands, they were working the lands. You know what I'm saying? They were able to preserve their culture and things like that, right? But what happened when the children grow up? When the children grow up and they see everything that's going on and they try to cash in their inheritance. You see what I'm saying? A lot of our parents, they were passed down homes, businesses. I know in my family specifically, my both of my great granddaddies owned businesses, built homes, and left it to their children, only for their children to squander it. And then so you get a generation like me that comes in the world with nothing to gain, with nothing. Because people before me have squandered it. They didn't steward over it well. So now the children are coming into a situation to where they have no type of head start in life. They have no type of wealth or possession or anything worth valuable. They don't have it because people didn't steward over. That's what happens when you don't steward things well. There's a saying. It says, hard times create tough men. Tough men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create hard times, and the cycle keeps going, right? So those people who don't steward over things well, they make life harder for their seed, their children. And their children have to come into the world with nothing and essentially have to start from zero instead of standing on the shoulders. See, that's what good stewardship does. Good stewardship allows you to stand on the shoulders of those who came before you so you can see a greater distance. You can see a wider range. You can be a level higher. You see what I'm saying? People need to make sure they have life insurance and a will or trust to determine where their property goes after they die. Exactly. Life insurance. You see what I'm saying? Something as simple as that can leave a child or leave a family with that much more of a head start in life. As a matter of fact, speaking of a will, my mother, her stepfather, my grandmother's husband, who raised my mother like his own child, when he died, he left my mother an inheritance, right? It wasn't much, maybe like 20,000, 20, 30,000, but that was a head start, right? Right? That could have been taken, especially from, because we from the hood. That could have really put my mother at an advantage, right? But needless to say, it didn't, for reasons, not necessarily my mother's fault, but people get greedy, right? So I ain't gonna go too deep into that. But that's what good stewardship can do. Good stewardship can, make your children be able to, pursue their dreams or pursue their goals and their purpose without having to worry about, well, are we gonna eat tonight, or without having to worry about the basic necessities of life, right? For those of you who are on here who grew up, in poverty, you understand as a child, you stress about things adults should be worried about. You see what I'm saying? I used to always wonder what it was like for people who grew up who didn't have to worry about their basic needs. Because I always had to. You see what I'm saying? And I could just only imagine where I may have been, if I would have been, a lot better off early on if I didn't have to worry about those things. You see what I'm saying? So, if you steward well your children, they won't know what it's like to have to worry about the basic things of life. They'll already have that, and they can focus on going higher. They can focus on if they want to take up a craft, they want to take up sports. They want to take up, they want to do the arts, they want to do this, do that. That's why you see a lot of other ethnicities like whites, Asians, you know what I'm saying, and Indians, and you'll see that, oh, this little white boy, 15 years old, he made $1 million off of YouTube. He made $1 million off of this, $1 million off of that, or stocks or whatever. You know why that is? Because his parents had already laid the foundation and they had already stewarded over what they had. They had already stewarded over what they had. They said, you know what? We're gonna get married, right? And this is what people from other cultures do. They say, we're gonna, you're gonna get married, in your 20s. The man is gonna work, the woman, she can work too, or whatever the case may be. Establish yourself, you know what I'm saying? Buy a house, right? Because when you own a home, DNR Homestead, glad to see you on. When you own a home, you have equity in the home, so you automatically have a little bit of wealth. That's why a lot of children were able to get sent off to college, get their tuition paid in full, get sent out to a trade school or whatever the case may be, because people who own homes, parents who own homes, they were able to borrow against their home and just pay it back in through the mortgage or whatever the case may be. They were able to take that line of credit out and send their child to school. You see what I'm saying? And their child don't have to even worry about financial aid. But this is what other cultures do. They sit down and they look at it like a business. They look at it logically. They don't look at marriage as what the media portrays it. They look at marriage as something that is going to be a benefit, that is going to serve, that's going to be purposeful. So they say, okay, we're gonna get married, we're gonna buy a house, we're gonna have kids at this age, we're gonna put this much away in the savings, have this in the bank, have this life insurance, have these investments, whatever the case may be. They have it all laid out. A lot of cultures do, but we don't. That's called stewardship. For people to plan out their future, for people to sit here and be strategic and say, you know what, we're going to do this with that. If we get this increase, we're going to put it in that fund, or we're going to put it in that certificate of deposit, or we're going to put it in this investment. You see what I'm saying? This is what they do that we don't. So we would have a lot more if we stewarded over what we had well. We would have a lot more. All right. Last thing. Last point. Stewardship establishes trust. You see what I'm saying? Trust with the creator, trust with, your supervisor, trust with, lenders, whatever the case may be. When you're a good steward over what you have, people can trust you with what they have. You see what I'm saying? When God can trust you to steward over this well, he will give you more. But if you can't steward well, you can't be trusted. Because, man, I'm gonna tell you something. I be having people who be calling me a lot of times, people in family, they call me, man, I got this idea. I want to start this business. I want to do that, this and that, and they'll look to you to, kind of jump on board with it and kind of invest your time or your money or whatever, your expertise. But then if you know that person and you know their history when it comes to this department, if you can't trust them, then you know what I'm saying, you're gonna play it to the side. For real. You're gonna play it to the side, like, oh man, that's cool, man. That's what's up. Yeah, man, I can't, man. I ain't even got the time for man, I ain't even got no money for. But if you trust somebody and like, yeah, this person will go get it, they gonna do it. They say they gonna do it. They gonna steward over this properly. Then, hey man, here go, what you need to get started. Let me know. I help you out. You know what I'm saying? People will be willing to invest in the people who they can trust, because the people who they can trust have stewarded over things well in the past, and their track record have shown that. You see what I'm saying? So when I'm looking at my land, when I'm looking at my home, I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? I have, close to 6 acres of land, right? There's no reason why, it shouldn't be appealing for somebody to come, to my farm or my homestead and say, yeah, man, that's a nice property right there. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just saying, oh man, he need to do some work around here. People look at those things. People look at those things. Most importantly for me, God looks at those things. God looks God looks at those things. You know what I'm saying? So if we want God, if I'm sitting here praying to God every day and saying, Lord, please bless me with more. Please bless me with more land. Please bless me with more livestock. Please bless me with more money. Please bless me with this. Please bless me with that. But yet, I'm not taking care of what I have first. Like I got people who be coming to me all the time saying, "Oh man, we need to buy this. We need to buy this. We need. I see these 10 acres for sale." You know what I tell them? I say, "Man, I still got 6 acres. I ain't even using them all. I got to grow into what I got first." I got to learn how to manage 6 acres before I can manage 600. Like that's just the truth. If I can't manage 6, how can I manage 600? If I can't steward over 6, how can I steward over 600? You see what I'm saying? So I got to become a master at stewarding over 6 acres, learning how to, grow this on this amount of land, so I can do it on a larger scale. Like okay, if anybody's ever been in the military, right? When you have a mission, right? Let's say you're either about to deploy or you're about to do a field training exercise, or you're about to do, a mission. Pretty much, you're about to do a mission. You plan and you prepare for that mission, right? And in the planning and preparation phase, you have what they call mock boards, what's the proper term for it? Basically, it's a model. It's a a small, I can't think of the words I'm trying to say, y'all. I got brain fog. But it's a small model, pretty much. Like, like you got the whole area of operation laid out. Simulation, yeah, simulation, but it's like specifically like a model you build, right? And in that model, you have the area of operation, the field. So you got little fake trees, and then you got the little vehicles, and you got the little buildings. It's a little model. Sand table, yeah, it could be sand table too. Exactly, farming with the sand table. You know what I'm saying? But you got this whole model. It's a realistic little model, right? And then you basically make your plans based off of that. That's the same thing that God does for us. He'll give you a sand table model, right? He'll give you a little micro, you know what I'm saying, model first, and see if you can plan and you can properly, you know what I'm saying, strategic, be strategic with that, and be efficient with that before he can trust you with the whole mission. You see what I'm saying? He got to learn how to trust you in the planning phase, in the preparation phase, in the strategy phase before you can actually go to the mission. If you can store it over this well, if you can get this right, if you can, you know what I'm saying? If you can do all of this right, then he can trust you with that. But if you're messing up in the planning phase, how can he trust you to carry out the mission? You see what I'm saying? If he can't trust you in the mock phase when you're doing the actual training, how can he trust you with the overall mission? I wouldn't feel comfortable taking a soldier with me who I don't know is going to have my back in the gunfight. I wouldn't trust them. If they freezing up while we are going through training, and we got blanks that we shooting, and they freezing up and they don't know what to do, I wouldn't trust them to take them to Afghanistan with me. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. If God can't trust you in the practice, in the planning, in the strategy phase, in the preparation phase, or in the small phase, right, where he just give you a little bite to chew, if he can't trust you with that, how can you expect him to trust you with a lot? So us as Black folks, or individual, ask yourself as an individual, what you have now, whether you got a humble abode, a small house, medium house, whatever the case may be. You might not have as much land. You might not have as much this, as much that. You might have an acre, whatever the case may be. Ask yourself, am I stewarding over this properly? Am I upkeeping this properly? Am I getting out of this all that I can get out of this? Or am I just, hoping for more so I can potentially do more? Instead of seeing what I can do on this, and then as I get more, I know I can do more on more. You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Because a lot of times we feel like, man, I want this, I want that. I want all this stuff. But I can't get all this stuff with what I got. That's a lie. Figure out how you can, and figure out how you can utilize every single resource you have. Man, I only make this amount of money, this amount a year, but I know with this salary, I can't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But guess what? You can. You might not be able to do all of those in one, but you can say, okay, well, I can put away $200 a month, do my budget real tight, delay gratification, don't go out to eat all the time, cut back on this or that, whatever the case may be, and see how I could put away $200 a month. Then after 6 months, I can do that first thing that I wanted to do. You see what I'm saying? And then now that you're managing what you got well, when the increase comes, you're able to put back more. So that means as time goes on, you're able to do more and more of those things because you stewarded over the small first. Where there's a will, there's a way. Exactly. See, man, I'm gonna tell you something. Our ancestors made something out of nothing, bro. That's just the truth. If they didn't, we wouldn't be here today. They was able to squeeze every little drop out. They was able to utilize everything. Why you think they say from the rooter to the tutor? They ate everything. They ate the chicken feet. They ate, man, I was telling matter of fact, I was telling my wife the other day, I was eating some chicken that was so good. And then I was like, man, this chicken's so good. I'm gonna eat the gristle. And I was like, you don't ever eat the gristle? She didn't even know what I was talking about. Because she didn't grow up like that. I grew up, we were poor, we were broke, you know what I'm saying? And when we was hungry and when we got, 1 or 2 pieces of chicken, we'll eat the gristle. That's how hungry we was. You see what I'm saying? But, I say all that to say our ancestors, they literally they stretched everything they had. They stewarded over it well. So when they were able, through being free, in the times of Reconstruction, when they were able to have a little something, they maximized it. And they created things like Black Wall Street. They created things like Seneca Village. They created all of these, great, great, great places. They created these things because they utilized everything they had, and they had that mindset, soil to soil homestead. They had that mindset where there's a will, there's a way. Excuse me. Where there's a will, there's a way, and they stewarded over it well. You see what I'm saying? They said, okay, well, you know, the white man only gonna sell me 10 acres. Okay, on that 10 acres, I can do this. Man, that 10 acres, man, they was feeding villages, man. They were feeding so many people out that 10 acres, it ain't make no sense. You see what I'm saying? They bought a little plot of land. Oh, let's build a church. You see what I'm saying? They built, if you go to I think it's called First African Baptist Church. It's in Savannah. I forget what the name of the church is. But that church was literally built by slaves. After they, come from working and all that stuff, they go and build their church, laying every brick, doing the woodwork, building the pews. That's the same church. If you look it up, they actually have ancient cursive Hebrew written on the pews. But they literally built that. You know what I'm saying? After they was working in the fields, after they was toiling in the fields, they stewarded over it. Ask yourself today, are you stewarding over what you have well, pleasing? Like, shoot, if you a child, are you keeping your room clean? You see what I'm saying? Are you keeping your car clean? Are you keeping this clean? Are you making sure that God will be pleased with what He has trusted you with? We gotta steward, man. We gotta steward well. Especially if we're talking about becoming self-sufficient and getting back to the land. What steps are we taking? What steps are we taking? If we saying we want to get back to the land and be self-sufficient, what are we storing over right now that's going to allow us to get to that? Like, are you learning? Like, what are you learning? Are you learning how to, replace, the this or that? Like, your food, like where you can start. Okay, most people can start with vegetables. They can start with a garden. Are you starting with that? Most people, they got a little more land. They can start with chickens, eggs. Man, matter of fact, it's funny because I learned how to make butter today. I just made some fresh butter. Easy, just little things like that. That you could just wean yourself off of being dependent. You know what I'm saying? And just stewarding over what you have well. So I really want to talk about that topic, stewardship, because I feel like I feel like as black people, we don't steward over what we have well. Saint Moshe, shalom, shalom. I feel like we don't steward over what we have well, honestly, as a whole. I ain't talking about individuals. I'm talking about as a whole. We have to steward over what we have well, man. The things that we create, the things that we innovate, the things that we pioneer, the things that we work for and we do, and the things that our ancestors have died for. Like the things our ancestors have died for, we do not steward those things well. Why is it that every city you go to, the Martin Luther King Boulevard is the most ghetto, dirtiest place in that city? Why is that? We should take pride in Dr. Martin Luther King. We don't have to agree with all his ideologies or whatever the case may be, but guess what? This man laid his life on the line for a cause that benefited us as black people. We should at least keep his street clean. We should at least uphold that. You see what I'm saying? We should at least make that a great representation. But it's so funny how white people can say, oh, they don't even steward over Martin Luther King Drive. That just go to show you that they ain't this or they ain't that. We ain't even stewarding over that well. So, us as black people, man, we got to get back to a place to where we take pride, man. We hold things sacred. We don't let everybody and everything just come in. No matter how cool they are, because I guarantee you, see, and a lot of black folks get this rude awakening when they start trying to immerse themselves in other cultures. Those people say, hold on, these off limits, this off limits, that's off limits. Each one have to teach one. When we arrive, we have to reach back and help someone else. We got to stop moving forward and not looking back, because while we moving forward and not looking back, the further we move forward, the less people who look like us is going to be in them circles, and you're going to be the only minority, and they're going to look at you like you are outside and like you crazy, and you're going to do everything you could do to fit in, even if it means turning your back on your own people. And still, that's not going to serve you right long term, because these people are just going to chew you up and spit you out because you're not one of them. This not even just talking about race or white people. This talking in general. They're going to look at you like you're not one of them, because you're not. Then you're going to be trying to come back to your people, like Stacey Dash. You see what I'm saying? Like, let's just keep it real, man. Let's just keep it real. But we got to start holding things sacred, man. We can't let everybody just, oh yeah, man, you come on, man. Yeah, we're gonna support your rap music. We're gonna support this, we're gonna support that. No, we gotta stop doing that, man. Some things should just be sacred. Oh yeah, you can open a soul food restaurant. I'll teach you how to make it. No, we gotta stop doing that. We gotta stop giving away all of our cultural creative ideas, all our cultural creative inventions. We got to stop doing that, man. We have to. And people can say, "Oh, it's racist, this is that," but you go to any other culture, those people they gatekeep their culture. We the only ones who don't gatekeep our culture. We the only ones who don't do it. Africans do it. They gatekeep their culture. You see what I'm saying? But we have to start doing that, man. We have to start stewarding over that well. And as individuals, we have to start stewarding over what we have, even if even if it seems like it's small. It's not small. It's something that God has given you that you need to steward over. Even your children. You see what I'm saying? It could be anything, man. Anything that God has placed under your authority, you need to steward over it well. And you need to put your all into it so he can entrust you with more. And so we can get to a place where as a whole, we're stewarding over what we have. So when we're giving things as a whole, we can steward over it united. And we can actually climb from the bottom of the totem pole and reclaim our place what we know we should be. Right? But yeah, man, that's it. That's all I got. Good stewardship. Steward. You know what I'm saying? So each and every person who's watching this live right now, man, ask yourself, are you properly stewarding? And be real. Like, are you properly stewarding? Because I had to be real with myself. I wasn't properly stewarding over what, God had given me. I was trying but God let me know you could do better. You see what I'm saying? So you could do better, man. Just steward over what you have. Even if it seems small, it's not small. Anything God has placed under your authority, man, make sure if you want more. Now, if you want to stay in the same place, hey, continue to go in that cycle. Eventually, you're gonna get tired, going through that cycle. But when you start, you know what I'm saying, getting tired, getting sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when you need to start, saying, okay, man, what can I do to steward over this well? Once you start stewarding over that well, and you invest those talents that God has given you, then God will he will allow you to reap tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold, how many ever fold. You know what I'm saying? But you'll reap in abundance. So that's all I got to say, man. I always like to say, if you give somebody the power to feed you, give them the power to starve you, man. So let's take our power back and let's steward over that. All right, peace.